Alright, in this video we're going to create our second sort of panel, which is going to be a little volume slider. And what I'm going to do is, before we get into that, I've created a lot of different things, and I want to make sure I have some prefabs for that. So I'm going to like drag and drop some of these, this timer slider that I've created, and make prefabs so that that's even if this gets changed around, then we can revert to the prefab or apply to it. Yeah, so let's get into our next modular control panel. So remember, we need to have object with sort of a size, like this one has a width of 3 and height of 2. So let's create an empty or a panel. I'm going to do it here, UI panel, and let's call this volume slider. Yeah, it kind of works. And I'm going to do it the same height but a different width. So I'm just going to keep the width of 1. So the height is going to be 0 to 2, or we can do 0 to, or negative 1 to 1. Okay, and oh, I put this under the number pad. I didn't mean to do that. Now it should be organized in our grid panel, since I took it under or out of number pad. Okay, so this is going to be right. So this is going to be our volume slider, and then this is this one's going to stay the size of the grid, and then we're going to create a panel under this. So I think we can delete this image because we don't need it, but we have this panel that we want to make a little bit longer, so like -1, and we can call this size panel. And under our size panel, then we can create our slider in there. So whatever we change the size of this to be, I want to make a vertical one. So I'm going to make in the slider script, I'm going to, or in the inspector, in the component, I'm going to change from left to right to top to bottom. So actually bottom to top. So I want the bottom to have the low number and the top to have the high number. And I'm going to do just even or integers. So I'm going to do from 0 to 100. And you'll see it like sort of snaps into place for all of the integers. Why is it? It's weird that it's showing, and you can see it snapping, but it's not giving me whole numbers. Why is that? Until I click whole numbers. Let's just try like okay, so if I change it in the inspector, or in while it's playing, just in the value here, it's going to not give me whole numbers. I didn't know that. Okay. So I'm going to do 0 to 100. That's going to be our volume, like 100% to 0. It's going to be bottom to top, and then I also want to basically take up the size of this. So I'm going to change this to, well, we have a fixed height for these, so I could center it in the middle, and remember these are like, so it'd be like about 200. So if I have a size of, so that's 100. These are all, the grid is 100 by 100, right? No, 200 by 200. Okay, so if I have a slider size of 400, then it should take up the entire thing. But I don't want to take up absolutely, actually I think that could be fine. Maybe we can even do just like 380 just to make sure it fits in the panel, or 350. Uh, 360. We'll do like 20 on the top and the bottom. Okay. And the width, I want to make it wider, so I'm going to do 50, 40. All right, for this one, I am going to keep the handle because I want this to be interactable, but I'm just going to change the handle to be, I have in my UI sprites, I have this volume handle, so I'm going to change that image to this, and I want to make that way bigger, so I'm going to make this handle 100 is way too big, so 50. Yeah, and then we can make it wider. So there's a handle slide area. Handle. Okay, so it's not letting me be wider than it stretches here, but we could change it to be like in the center, and then have a width of like 100. That looks alright. 100 by 50. Let's see if this works. I'm worried about it being centered in the, yeah, it's going to be centered in the middle. It's kind of weird. So if we change position Y to be 0, oh, okay. So something with the slider, I guess it automatically defaults to stretching with the bottom. Let's make sure, is this going to happen again? Okay, so that's better. Now, alright, something that I'm already noticing is that, like, you can't really tell it's snapping with so many values from 0 to 100. So I'm going to actually change the value. So wheel on the volume will display from 0 to 100 volume, but we'll make it snap to each 20. So if I do, we can sort of see it snap into place a little bit more. That way we can sort of have a better idea that, like, if we have a specific volume we want it to be at, it'll be a little easier for the player to snap to that volume and get it correct. So the size panel, I don't want this image anymore, so I'm going to remove that component. And then we can change the sort of colors of some of these. So if it's sort of like a notch, I think this background can be like a pure black like this, and I think that looks okay. And this handle, last time I did sort of greenish knob. Oh, you know what, we can like match that color again, sort of be a little consistent with our color choices. I kind of want that handle size to be a little bigger still, so I'm going to do height of 80. Okay. Okay, yeah, so it automatically, so I'm going 50 out from either side, so, and what the width of this is 50, so that's like 150. Width is 40. I go maybe a little bit more, negative 60 on this side, negative 60 on that side. Okay, a big, nice handle to grab onto. I also forgot, I kind of want to label this so that like if somebody says change the volume, then they know that the volume is here. So let's create, along with the slider, we'll create some text that will be the sort of the same color. We'll say volume, and we'll keep consistent with our like prototype text. I think we can do all caps like our numbers here. Let's bring that to the top of this panel. Let's anchor it to the top. And actually let's stretch it to the top. And we won't come in 20 and 20. We will keep it at a negative. How much? Well, what's the height? So we want negative 15. But let's say we make this height a little larger, like 40. And then up our best fit to like have a bigger, what is that, up max 40? No, I liked it at, I think that's fine. But let's move our slider position a little down. So this was negative 20. So maybe we want to come in. Oops, let's see. Let's do slide. I'm gonna call this volume text. Hold on. No, I have my caps lock on. And slider, so let's try, yeah, so slider, we want to come down like negative 10. I think that's fine. Maybe even more. Oh, like the other one was negative 20, so height we can change to 300. Keep it nice even. What is this? Maybe down negative 10. No, I liked it at 20. It's a little better. I think I want that volume to come down a bit more. So let's change. Let's have it come down negative 30, 40. Yeah, let's go negative 30. Well, we kept this at 300, is that right? And okay, so we're negative 20 from the center. Yeah, that's okay. I think that looks fine. Alright, so now that we've set up the UI part, then we can start making a new script for this and changing the sort of objective, inheriting from our modular control class. So let's start that. So I'm going to create a script, and it's going to be volume slider, and this will now inherit from our modular control. Where are you at? Come on. So actually, let's wait until next video to work on the actual script. But since we have this set up, remember we have like this tele windscreen that we need to have as our first child, so that we can animate that. And what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to, and one other thing, in the slider, we forgot about the fill area. So if I have it at something like this, I don't want to see that white fill, so I'm just going to, and the slider actually needs the fill, so I'm not going to delete that. I'm just going to disable the image so that we can just kind of move that back and forth. One other thing that's kind of nice is that I want to have some sort of visual distinction if we've clicked it. If it's for instance, if we have a handle on it, so I'm going to go into slider, and they have this like normal color and highlighted color. Highlighted color is going to be the same. Actually want to make sure that's no different because this is a mobile game, but for the pressed color, I'm going to make it red. So and this is going to help later because ooh, I don't like it that dark though. So I'm going to change the value to something brighter and a little less angry. Ooh, it looks all brown. Oh, okay, because it's already green. Okay, I see what's happening. So if I hit undo, instead of setting had this handle be green, I'm gonna copy this color over, copy, make that completely white, and then the normal color is going to be green, and then it'll be just red when we pick it up, so it doesn't turn to brown when we, okay, normal color, highlighted color. Oh, highlighted color also needs to be green because that's just how we tested in. So green at all times until we hit red, and then green again. Doesn't really make sense for a physical remote, but it'll work for us. Okay, next thing before we move on to the script is we want to, like I said before, we need to have like sort of an animation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable the canvas for now and create an animation before moving on the world canvas as well. I'm going to click on this tele, and what I'm going to do, my new, actually, disable this one. My new animation is going to, it's going to have a plain black background, so I'm just going to like duplicate this and call it background. I'm also going to duplicate this again, and I'm going to have like, I will call this our volume animation. So this should actually, I hate when it does this, but just like a scale of 1. This one also a scale of 1. And then I'm going to make the background a child of our volume animation. And then with our volume animation, our background is going to be completely black. And we're going to make sure that this shows above our noise sprite. So I'm going to make that -90. And then in our volume animation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an I'm going to remove this animator. And I'm going to create a new animator for this guy. I can take the sprite out of here. And this one is going to be above our background, so I'll make it -80. And it's going to look something like this. I'm going to have a guitarist here. So actually we can scale this down a bit so that it fits on the screen. Maybe 0.8, 0.75, or 0.6. Oh, okay, 0.6 kind of works as long as it's in that telly screen. And I'm going to create an animation that just flips between sprites. So I'm going to go create animation. I'm going to call it rock out. And this is for our volume animation. And I'm going to drag this up here so that I can manipulate this at the same time. So I can have a record, and on the first one I want to make this orange, so we're going to lock this in as the orange dude, and then up here, and I can just, like, since this is the top sprite renderer, I can just sort of drag and drop like this if I wanted to. So it'll switch between every 1/10 of a second. We'll go from the orange to the green to the purple to the white to the other green, and that's maybe a little too fast. Let's see. Maybe every 1/4 second. And it flips too much on this one because I need to duplicate this to be 15 seconds. Yeah, I want to move it faster, so I'm going to move it back down to every 1/6 of a second, I guess. Cool. I like that. And that's on loop, so yep. And I'm going to drag these and put them in the correct spot in our animation folder. Yeah, here we go. And then we want this to be in we'll create a new folder, volume animation, add this here. Let's bring back this guy and put it in our prefab or make a new prefab of our volume slider, and it's got to be the first child, right? Cool. And we can make this a prefab now. So hopefully when we hit play, then this will be deactivated, and it's getting angry that objective text is not oh yeah, so I gotta turn the world canvas back on, and let's look at our slider. So it's not we need to set our tele windscreen in the inspector. I think I did this differently, right? is happening. Is this even the right? Okay. Okay, so I found out what's going on here. So I forgot. Oops. I forgot after we inherit things, there's these default functions, and they're overriding our modular control class because we didn't set this up as a public virtual void. And it wouldn't give us that like error unless it's like a public virtual void. So let's just delete all the functions, and now it should just take that child and deactivate it until we need it. Cool. And what have we done? So we've modular control. One weird thing is that we've set both of these as an objective. So maybe we just comment that out for now. Anything under modular control is going to be objective now, so we're going to have to work on that later. That'll be our next thing. But I think for this video, we've set up our animation, we've set up our slider, so we can wait until the next video to really get into our script.